Whew, okay. Oh, that was just beautiful. Okay. So as I said, our theme this month is the art of enjoyment. And I just want to go over that affirmation again. I step into the joy of life and I live it up. How many of you are living up in your life? Really living up, which Karen, of course, knew what I was saying. Living into your unlimited potential. I live up to my unlimited potential by stepping into joy. And that's what you just witnessed. I think very often when we hear things like unlimited potential, we're thinking about all the things we're supposed to do, all the accomplishments we're supposed to make, all the things we're supposed to accomplish in life. There's our unlimited potential, but that's not it. That is not it. And I love the story I heard once of Don Miguel Ruiz talking to Deepak Chopra, one of the two of them, talking to their children, and I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of them. I was probably reading them both at the same time. And one of them said to their children, I don't care what you do in life, provided, it was Deepak Chopra, provided, because now I remember what he said, I will support you up to a certain point. And if you follow your heart and live your passion, that is all I require from you. And he was on some talk show and he said, now my reason for that was, I knew if they lived their passion, I wouldn't have to support them. And I knew if they didn't live their passion, I'd be supporting them for life. Think about that. How many of us are doing the same thing? We're not living our passion. We're living some idea of ourselves that we think we must get to and accomplish. If I had $1 for every single person that said to me, I'm really not fulfilled in my work, but I know I need to do this to get there, I'm like, oh my goodness. So, Thomas Troward. I hardly ever quote him on a Sunday because it's like, he's so dense, but he's not in this particular quote. Thomas Troward told us, and Thomas Troward, for those of you who don't know, was really the material that Ernest Holmes used to create the science of mind. Thomas Troward distilled so much of the wisdom of the universe, and Ernest Holmes took Thomas Troward and made it more accessible. Some would argue that, but I feel that way. So Thomas Troward basically tells us that our purpose to life, our only purpose in life, the only thing we ever have to do is enjoy life. Did anybody else hear that growing up? Because I didn't hear that, Karen and Ronnie. Okay, Reverend Karen Frost. Okay, good. So I didn't hear that growing up. I thought I had a lot of other things I had to accomplish, not just enjoy life. In fact, growing up in my Irish Catholic family, we were basically all about delaying gratification. I mean, that was really the touchstone of my growing up. Delay that gratification. It's going to be so much better by the time you get to enjoy it. By the time you get to enjoy it, you forgot what it was you wanted to enjoy in the first place. So it's not about that. It is about living the joy of life full out. And then he says this. He says, the law of flotation, I know, I thought that was funny too. The law of flotation was not discovered by contemplating the sinking of things, but by contemplating the floating of things, which float naturally, and then intelligently asking, why did that happen? This is Thomas Troward. So the law of flotation, it's not about focusing on why do things sink, it's about why do they float? So one of the questions I have for you today, are you interested in floating or sinking? What are you interested in? What do you put your mind on? Do you put your mind on those things that are sinking in your life? Or do you put your mind on those things that are rising to the top, up to unlimited potential? So now I want to go to Heather's song. The first thing that she sings in her song is this idea, which is perfect imperfection. Don't you love that idea? A perfect imperfection. Because in truth, there's only perfection. Every single aspect of life is perfection unfolding itself through you, regardless of what happens, how it happens, when it happens, where it happens. So, yes, I took 8 students to Santa Barbara this week to go through ministerial panels, ministerial intensives. And all this means is there are a panel of 3 ministers, 2 doctors and Reverend Jonathan Zenz, who are just finding out, where are you on this path? Some of you are on this path to ministry, and right now is not the time for that. but it's time for something else. And some of you are, okay, now's the time for you to dive off that log. So, 8 students went up and 6 students came back with their reverend in front of their name. 2 students came back without that yet. It wasn't a no, it was a, there's something for you to know here, let's do that exploration. And I somehow, in my heart, it's always a little bit sad when someone doesn't get exactly what they wanted, but what do we know about that? We know that the universe is always giving us exactly what we are equal to and what is called forth in order to grow, in order to know more. And I somehow think that those 2 students, who now have another year of working through more study and more consciousness, that those 2 students have an even bigger advantage than they ever could possibly realize. That there's something about that is just majestic. So this whole idea of perfect imperfection, we would really help ourselves out a great deal if in stepping into the joy of life, we don't quantize it and we don't allow ourselves to judge it. This is joy, this is not joy, this is joy. Because frankly, there's joy in washing the dishes. Anybody? I love washing the dishes, right? There's joy in gardening. There's joy in watering the garden. There's joy in going to the gym. Anybody? There's joy in every single thing. There's joy in discontentment. That's why we call it the divine discontent. There's joy in all of it. We just don't necessarily look at it that way. That's what I'm asking us to look at this month. And what Heather also wrote was this idea of get out of my mind and into my heart. We have thought about this teaching for so long. We have thought about science of mind and Christianity. Oh, I had a moment. As soon as I say Christianity, I had a moment. We were at a Catholic retreat center, so Jesus was everywhere. Yes, Karen just said, Jesus was hanging around everywhere. And frankly, it was really profound. I grew up Catholic. How many of you grew up Catholic? So y'all know what that crucifix looks like. I mean, that's really the unfortunate thing that they focus on. The crucifix, whereas what we're interested in is everything came before the crucifix. But, so we're sitting there in church, in a chapel. They all gave their talks with a giant Jesus on the cross behind them. So they didn't have to see Jesus, and I think it was Reverend Karen Frost was the only one that actually used Jesus in her talk, I think. There was only one of you that actually referred back to him. And so at one point in our service on our closing morning, Reverend Jonathan Zenz asked us all to think about all of our teachers. And so, of course, Dr. Walker came to mind. And then Eric Butterworth, who was my original teacher, Marianne Williamson, all these teachers. And I'm sitting dead center looking up at Jesus. And I'm getting the goosebumps. And all of a sudden I looked up and I went, oh yeah, and you? And then I just lost it. I was, love and tears were just pouring through me. And I was like, oh my God. The connection I have to Jesus, the teacher, not Jesus, the Redeemer, which we don't believe in, but Jesus, the teacher, that connection was so palpable. Sitting there, I almost couldn't breathe. And of course, I knew I was going to have to get up and talk about this because I was the next one to speak. And I was like, all right, I got to just tell you, everybody, that guy up there, that's my master teacher. And it was just so profound. And the funny part was that Dr. Joe Hooper had said to me, because we're thinking of taking all of you, all of our churches up there, 150 people up there for a week's retreat in Santa Barbara. And Joe said, well, we're going to have to cover the crosses. And so I get up and talk, and I looked at him, and I was like, I guess we're not going to be covering the crosses. We're just going to be explaining them, explaining the cross out of the equation back to the man. So this whole idea of thinking you know what you know about joy, about living your life, and yet every now and then something comes along and just knocks you right off it and says, no, this is joy too. This is truth too. So get out of my mind and into my heart. It is so time for us as a movement, as a teaching, the New Thought movement, to get out of the cynical, critical mindset of religious science, which the term itself always makes me a little like, what is that? Religious science, okay, where's the bloodletting? So But new thoughts, the idea of new thought, and the idea of this world, global truth, this understanding that it's all one thing. It's time for us to get out of the mind and drop into the heart. And I'm not saying forget what's in the mind. I'm saying drop all of that into the heart. Know what you know, but from that place of love, from that compassionate place. And then she says, there's no limit to what you can do when you try. You can fly. The title of the song I'm about to sing, the title of my talk today is Free at Last. Free at last. And I honestly believe that if you step into this month and really step into the joy of your life and insist, that's the word, insist that there is joy in everything. A mind that decides what it decides gets to live what it decides. That's what Dr. Maureen was talking about those frogs, because I also said 4. Until she told us, no, it didn't. It decided, it didn't do it yet. I was like, oh, well, I always think when you decide you do it, but clearly not. So if you absolutely insist on joy being everywhere present, and David Allen Cruz said it during the meditation, that's what I insist on, to be in joy, to enjoy. And this month is the art of enjoyment. So yesterday, I went for a walk. I went for a hike up in the Tree People Park, except I took a right, so I went to the duck pond. And I walked around the duck pond, and there were like 1 million turtles everywhere, just peeking their heads up and like following you. It was like turtles on parade. And it was just amazing. It was just so amazing. And I went with a friend of mine, Donna Mellon, and she was like, I can't believe we're in Los Angeles. I was like, I know, right? So we took this gorgeous hike, and then I came back to my home, and I made myself breakfast, and I went outside. And as I sat at my brand new teak table, as I sat at the table, this canary, this beautiful yellow purple canary, started flying around me. And I was like, first of all, where is your cage? Because clearly you are not an indigenous bird of this neighborhood. And I also was talking to it saying, there are some falcons that live right up in that tree that are not going to be, or you're not going to be happy when you see them. But I'm sitting there having this conversation with this canary who really would not leave me alone. It would like fly up to this little branch, and one time it flied onto a leaf that, I don't know how it stayed on this leaf, but it's like floating back and forth on this leaf, and it's just looking at me singing. And then, and I'm trying to eat, and then it like went zooming up into the sky, and I'm watching it, I was like, oh my God, and then just came zooming back down right by me and landed on another tree branch. And I'm like, wow, this is just amazing. But here's what I started thinking. This canary somehow got out of its cage, and finally, for the first time probably in its life, has just hit the air and went, where have you been all these years? And yet, this canary, probably because it has an owner who somehow left the cage open or something, or a window open, also knows people really well. And I guess I was the first people he or she saw. And at one point, can you imagine me? I'm sitting in my backyard going like this, come here. As if it's going to say, oh yeah, I have fallen for that before. That's back to the cage. That's not happening. And I remember when Reverend Jamie Klein's bird escaped their house. And I remember them saying to me, it's not going to last a day out there. It's just not going to last a day. So if we don't find it in a day, it's probably gone. And so as I sat there, my mind went to race consciousness of, oh my God, you poor little thing, you're not going to last a day. And then I was like, I'd rather last a day like this than 10 years in that cage. Because I'm not really one for caging animals or thinking they should be displayed in cages. I even have trouble when I go to the Thai food restaurant and they've got these big goldfish in these little ponds. I'm like, how much can they actually experience in there? But that's another talk. So, although, you know the goldfish thing, oh my God, a castle, so that could maybe be okay. Oh. So I'm watching this canary, and all of a sudden, I think this canary has the great premise for like a cartoon movie. And so I start writing it down. I'm like, oh my God, so this canary's living in this house. A canary walks into a bar. No. So, so this little canary is in a cage with its mom and dad. And all of a sudden, somebody leaves the door open, and the little canary goes out, and the window's open, and the mom and dad are going, get back in here, get back in here. No, that's not us, that's not who we are this kind of canary. We live in a cage, and the little bird's like, why, and goes out the window. And of course, the mom and dad are like in the cage going, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And they both decide they have to go out too. And now it's all these adventures of this little canary being chased by everything and dealing with everything. And then I realized I was writing Finding Nemo. For canaries. And then I went, no, keep writing it, because someone's going to do it, and you're going to go, damn, I should have done that. But you know, I got to the end of my movie, and they're back. They're on the little windowsill, and they're looking in at the cage. And the little one's saying, all right, I'll do what you want. I don't want you to be so disturbed with life, and I don't want to. The little canary is saying, it's okay, you know, I'll go back in there with you. I don't want you to be. And they've had all these horrendous, because we have a falcon in our neighborhood that literally, you watch it. The other day it flew by me with a big egg in its mouth, and I was like, there's a life that didn't get met. But you know, I saw Lion King, Circle of Life, I get it. So, sad, but it's true. Yeah, I saw that same falcon rip a squirrel right off the tree and take it for a ride. Yeah, that's what it was doing, taking it for a ride. Yeah, it's a beautiful falcon, by the way. That's why I don't have small pets that I let outside. So, where was I? Oh, the end of the movie. So they're on the ledge, and they're looking at the cage, but the mom and dad go, you know what? Because the mom and dad have also been soaring and like zooming and doing all these. I mean, this canary in my backyard was so excited with life. Literally, I'm sitting there watching him, and I'm like, you are so excited with life. And you kept connecting back to me. Just back to me, back to me, back to me. It kept coming back and landing, and literally I kept going, I would love for you to land right on my table, or even on my plate, and just look at me. But it never got that close. But kept getting really close and stopping and like, and then I'd go, and come back and go. I was like, okay, 9. Do it again. Yeah. So anyway, they're on the ledge. And they decide to go, to just leave. Forget about the people that lost them, and I feel sad for them too, but maybe they can get put the cage away and stop keeping birds in cages. I know some of you have birds in cages, I bet. Who have birds in cages? Okay, good for you. So, and I know some of you also, I know Al and Marcy have birds in their cages that fly all over their house. I mean, they have free reign of that house. It's a little daunting having dinner there, but it's really free reign, the whole house. So it is no judgment on you that have birds in cages. This is just my personal feeling of what I experienced with the canary, right? That I call Can. That's what I decided yesterday. That canary's name was Can, because it could do whatever it decided to do now that it was free. So they decide to leave. And that's the end of the movie, because, you know, it'll be a big theme song that Adele will sing. And, it'll be fabulous. It'll be an Oscar, and I'll, of course, get Best Animated Film that year. It's just great. All because of little Can that flew into my backyard. So this morning, I get up, and I was like, oh, I wonder how his day was. Was that one day? Is the day over? Did the falcon have dinner or breakfast or a little snack? It was a small little bird. So I took my oatmeal, and I went out back to eat, and my backyard was filled with ashes from the fire in Calabasas. All over my new teak table, just ashes, which all the practitioners will clean off because they're coming to brunch today. I didn't even bother. I thought, I have 20 practitioners coming, they'll all clean. So, y'all here, right? Y'all heard what you have to do now. So, I sat down, I did clear off a little place for me to just sit, and all of a sudden, there was the canary. Sitting in the little tree, chirping at me. And I got so overwhelmed, I was like, oh my God, you made it through a day! Good for you! And I realized that it had decided, I guess, that our backyard was its new cage, maybe, not cage, but a new home that they like. So it was in the tree, and it starts floating. It started, flying all around me, and I sat there going, by the way, Can, thank you, because I'm going to talk about you today at church. I did. I was like, you are the definite example. We all have cages that we live in. They're self-imposed. We think people put us in them. It's our past experiences, our failures, our history, all that stuff that keeps us in a cage. And by the way, the cage is open. There's no door on that cage in our experience of this. Your mind is open. And when Karen was talking about the elephant, that story is the beginning story in Mental Muscle. And the story is that it's not just a rope they usually put around these little baby elephants. It's a lock that as soon as the elephant moves, it's so hard it bleeds. It bites into their little legs. And so they so know that they can't move that they're tamed. Years later, there's this, how many tons does an elephant weigh? With a tiny little same kind of bracelet and a little stake, that elephant could go, please, but it doesn't know it. It still thinks that if it tries to move, it's going to be too painful. Same thing with this cage. All of us are living in some form of self-imposed cage, and yet, as Heather's song suggests, our job is to literally fly free and not worry about whatever scary things are out there. This Friday, I will fly off to Guatemala with my daughter. And I've had thoughts about, oh God, I'm taking my 16-year-old daughter into the jungle. And I've had to do work in myself of really knowing there's nothing to fear. Dana went by herself. Dana went by herself because she couldn't be with our group, all the way through all the areas that they say are dangerous. She just got up and left North Hollywood, went to Guatemala. So there is something inside of us that says there's something out there that could be we could have fear around. It's time to stop that. It doesn't mean you're not going to be logical. It doesn't mean you're not going to make sense and listen to what you're saying, because here's what I did. I went online and I said, I went Guatemala crime. How much crime is in Guatemala? Don't ever ask that question. Probably if I went North Hollywood crime, I'd move. But I put Guatemala crime. And all it said was, it's much better, blah, blah, blah. Big asterisk, don't travel at night outside the major cities. Now, Nora and I were about to take a private car, just the three of us, a driver, me and Nora, leaving at midnight on Friday night and driving all the way from the jungle to Guatemala City, all through the night. And I was like, not happening. We're changing our flight. We're leaving the next day during the bright daytime with everybody else. So sometimes you just need to listen. What's that about? What can I do about it? And keep moving forward. Not stop, not get stuck, not stay in that cage with the door open saying, I'm safe here, I'm safe here, I'm safe here. So that canary, and then of course your song, the fact that you're singing a song today, Butterfly, about how many of us want to be these caterpillars on the ground slowly trying to make our way through the earth. How many of us want to just go right to butterfly? Well, we can't. You actually have to move through that. And then you actually have to burst out of your cage, out of your cocoon, on your own. Do you ever try to help a butterfly? You have just killed it. Because it needs that. Well, we all need that. But guess what? There's not a person in this room who is still a caterpillar. None of us. Some of us may be self-imposed, but we're not. So, our job this month is to literally be the canary that says, I can. I can enjoy my life. I can enjoy every aspect of my life. I can be successful through joy. I can be wealthy and rich and opulent by enjoying my life, so much so that the law of attraction brings all of the enormous opulence of the universe right to me because it's actually coming towards that which I am. We got to stop worrying about all the little niggly things and start focusing on what we need to focus on. And that's the truth of our heart. Get out of here. We've done a lot of work here. Y'all know what you know. Drop it down. Drop it down into the heart, into the consciousness. Let yourself focus on why things float, not why they sink. Let yourself focus on that part of you that is here to live life to the fullest, not that part of you that is apprehensive. Listen to it, find out what it needs to say, and then bless it and pray for its highest and furthest. That's our job this month. I am really up to this job. I'm excited that this month is about this. I'm excited that I get to leave for Guatemala. I will tell you this too. Next Sunday when I am not here, the minister that will replace me on this stage to give the talk will be Reverend Karen Frost. And very often when you know I'm not going to be here, a lot of you stay home. I'm going to really advise you not to do that next week, because she gave a talk during her panels called First World Problems that was really amazing, just amazing. And the fact that she's going to give a talk called First World Problems when I am in a third world country, I think that will connect us so deeply and connect this center so deeply. So I really, really ask you, don't stay home just because I'm not here. Come here because I'm not here, because Karen Frost, Reverend Karen Frost, will be standing here. So I just want to close with giving you an option. And your option is, you can continue to live life in a self-imposed cage, not even knowing you're in there, or you can literally fly. Literally step into the flight that is your life. You've got 30 days. You've got these 30 days of June to every single morning when you wake up, insist on enjoying your day. I don't care what it is you think you have to do. The only thing you really have to do when you wake up is insist on enjoying your day no matter what. And I guarantee you, if you give yourself 30 days of enjoying life no matter what, you will start the neural pathways in your brain activating and motivating and moving on the cylinders of love, success, opulence. You will literally start your mind with those 30 days to create the habit of living life from the power of enjoyment, not from the power of critical thinking. So give yourself these 30 days. Take these 30 days. Take these 30 days to remember who you are at such a basic level of enjoyment that you'll be doing what Thomas Troward says. You'll be doing the only thing you have to do ever in your entire life, and that is to enjoy art, because you will have created the art of enjoyment, being in the joy of life and the joy of who you are, and that is greatness on demand. Namaste.